All right. Twitter has tried and tried again to go it alone, and it's encountered numerous roadblocks along the way. So a buyout has seemed more and more believable, possibly inevitable. Joining us to talk about some possible suitors this time around is Kurt Wagner from Recode. How's it going, Kurt?
Hey, what's up, guys? Happy Friday.
Yes, very happy indeed. Although I'm sure that I don't know. How do you think Twitter feels about this? You and Kara Swisher wrote an article last week breaking apart the pros and cons of something like this, the players in the space that might be interested in buying out Twitter. Were you surprised by today's news that Google and Salesforce might be in the running?
No, not at all. I mean, Google, we've heard for, a year probably, right? Mm-hmm. And I guess maybe a little surprised about Salesforce, but they were mentioned in the list that we had laid out last week as all the possible suitors that we saw. So, no, I mean, I would have loved to not see it at 7 a.m. when my alarm went off and woke up to all the news, but can't say that I'm super surprised. This has been going on, as you guys know, for a really long time, and I'm sure while Twitter is sick of dealing with these stories, I mean, this is just what happens when you're a big public company that people care about and you're going through this kind of a process.
Yeah, so we've got Google, we've got Salesforce. I hadn't considered Salesforce, but the more I thought about it, the more I was like, okay, I suppose that kind of makes sense. Do you think others are going to emerge at some point in this process? And if so, what would be some of those other options?
Sure, I do. I mean, I think if it comes down to Twitter basically making public or making privately public that they're interested in selling, I think we listed about 10 or 12 different companies last week, and I think they all have a valid reason to at least kick the tires and have an initial conversation. Certainly, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft. I think there's, Verizon, Comcast. I think there's a lot of people, and I'm not saying that all of these folks are going to make an offer or a bid or anything like that, but I just think that these are the kinds of companies that it's in their best interest to at least give Twitter a serious look. And I think it's obviously in Twitter's best interest to get as many people talking to them and bidding against one another as possible. So if it ultimately comes down to that, I would imagine we'll see something like we ended up seeing with LinkedIn, where they had 5 or 6 different people in the fold and ultimately created a bidding war between 2 or 3 of those folks. I'm sure Twitter would love that scenario if it came down to it.
So, I mean, we've talked forever about the Yahoo sale, and Yahoo was a company that, a lot of us just made fun of. In your article, you and Kara say that Twitter may be limping, but it's not lame. Can you talk a little bit about what's the worth in Twitter? Why would people buy them?
Well, you think about what they offer. They offer pretty much, I guess, 3, maybe 4 things. They do have, while it's not growing, they have a user base, right? 313 million active users, I believe. So that's big. They recently started doing this live streaming stuff, which people seem pretty thrilled about. They now stream 2 NFL games, including a number of other things that people probably don't care much about. But the NFL games have seemed to have gone well. And they're going to do the big debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump on Monday, which will be another chance to show that off. So they got users, they got this live streaming video capability, and then they have something that's really tough to measure, which is just simply cultural significance and influence, right? I mean, as much as we all dog on Twitter, is there a platform out there, maybe Facebook, but in a different way? Is there a platform out there that really can impact society the way that Twitter does, right? I mean, it's a place for breaking news, for changing the way that politicians think and the way that governments are run. And I think that there's a social factor there that no other company really has. And again, it's tough to really measure that or provide a price tag for it. But I think that certainly gives it some value. And I think there's a lot of people, especially people in the media world, would love to have someone like Twitter and Twitter's influence on their side.
Well, that cultural significance that you're talking about is so true, and we all can agree on that. But since when did that bring in loads of money? I mean, we're asking a lot of Twitter. I mean, the stockholders are asking a lot. I think of cultural significance, like museums and newspapers and stuff, and they're not rolling in the kind of money that people are expecting from Twitter.
Well, that brings us back to the ultimate issue, I think, for any of these companies buying Twitter is the price tag, right? I mean, Twitter can sit there all day and say, well, look at what we're able to do. I mean, we're able to, help overthrow suppressive governments. We're able to dictate the presidential election, right? I mean, we are doing some really powerful things, and yet what does that mean, right? Does that translate to actual revenue? Some, sure, but that is the challenge right now, is how much do you pay for something that is socially or culturally significant, but still not necessarily a great business. And I don't know if there's a right answer. And I think that, maybe it's going to take some kind of crazy billionaire like, when Bezos bought the Washington Post or whatever, like maybe it's just going to take someone to say, listen, this is a cool trophy to have, and I'll try to figure out how to make it into a business. But for now, it's something that really matters. It's something that's kind of still hip, and I want to own it. And maybe that's Mark Benioff, maybe that's Mark Zuckerberg, who knows? But that's the real issue, right? Is how do you put a price tag on that?
Yeah, it's kind of like Yahoo in the sense that Yahoo's been around long enough and established itself so much, and I think Twitter, has kind of proven this over the years as well, that it's hard to imagine a reality where it doesn't exist to some form.
Totally.
What does it end up being? Who knows? Now, the sources on this pointed to a $30 billion magical number as the for this. You guys estimated more like 18 billion, so a little more than half. Why do you think such a big discrepancy between where you pegged it and where sources are saying it's coming in at?
Well, I think that when you're at this stage in a conversation, the last thing you want to do is put a number out there that seems low, right? So my guess is, that people are speculating above probably where it's ultimately going to end up, because it's going to end up somewhere in the middle, right? I mean, I think if they were to sell for 18, I actually think that would be kind of great. I think they're valued at, before today, I want to say they were valued at around 13. That's a pretty significant increase.
Sure.
For a company, again, that's not making money. So I think, when people are talking and when Twitter goes out, the last thing they want to do is say, hey, we want 18, because they're going to get offers that are 15, 16, right? Yeah. So I think if Twitter's having these conversations, certainly they're going to say, we want 30, and let's figure out what we go from there. I would be shocked if they sell for 30, but, this whole thing has just been going on for such a long time, and I'm ready for it to be set and done. We'll see if anything happens. I know the CNBC report today said possibly by the end of the year. That to me would be a little quick. I thought maybe it might happen the first half of next year, but who knows? I mean, it really just depends. Once these conversations get going, they can pick up pretty quickly.
Yeah. So we spent a good part of this year discussing the lead up to the Yahoo sale. Now we'll spend the good part of the end of this year and part of next year talking about this with Twitter. Excellent.
Yes.
Nice to know that, at least.
Joy. Oh, joy.
Kurt Wagner with Recode. Where can people follow all your work online?
Yeah, thanks. You can follow me personally at KurtWagner8 on Twitter. You can follow all my work and the work of my colleagues at recode.net. Where you'll see a bunch of stuff about Twitter and other companies.
And other things. Thanks so much, Kurt.
Thanks,
Always
Kurt.
a pleasure.
Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
You too.
You too.
See ya.